Hi everybody, I'm Tim Rickman, and today I'm going to be showing you how to fold a model titled Bat Dragon, designed by Nick Proulx. You're going to start by folding the model in half diagonally through both directions, north to west and east to south. You want to be careful to align the corners and try to achieve perfect symmetry. Not cemetery. We don't quite want to get that peaceful. Once you've completed your first diagonal, you want to continue with your other diagonal and then continue on with a fish base. We're not making soup though. We'll be making origami today. Fish base soups have been popular for centuries. I don't much care for catfish. You want to turn the model over. Continue by folding the raw edges to your folded edge, as you have on the opposite side. Unfold and fold the other raw edge along that same axial crease. Now, we're going to fold the model out flat again, and where these diagonals intersect, you're going to bring this corner to that point and make a fold. You'll notice also that these creases match the crease that runs along the center of the model, and you can use that as a guide for folding this flap down correctly. You want to unfold that flap and repeat on the other side, bringing this point to where these diagonals intersect. You don't want to fold it to where the crease you've just made in the previous step intersects your diagonal crease, because that would be too shallow. This is what you should have now. Now you want to refold one of those, and you're going to bring this folded edge along the axis, folding down, creating a diagonal crease, matching this raw edge and this corner to the point of that bottom triangle, and crease. Bring down the other side, gently, peacefully, making sure that all is balanced and symmetrical. Unfold and repeat on the opposite side. Fold down the top flap and bring the folded edge to the axis, matching the points and the raw edges along the side. Write a comment and let me know what you enjoy about the zoo. At this point, you want to turn the model over and find these creases here. You have your creases running parallel to the central crease here. You want to pinch here Make mountain folds around the diamond in the middle. Push those together. Press that. Fold along these creases so that you lie one flap down in the front and one flap down in the back along existing creases. And the model will now look something like this once you've got it all pressed down. Just like that. Now what we'll be doing is folding along these diagonal lines so that this raw edge comes to this folded edge, but only to the point where it intersects this vertical crease. On this side, bring the bottom of that raw edge to that folded edge, and the same on the other side, just like that. This top portion of the flap will not lie flat. You want to gently push everything in the right direction, manipulating this small portion of paper in the back to the side, and pressing this down firmly but gently till it comes to a point top there, and then fold this point down so that the tip touches where these folded edges come to a point, and then make creases where this edge creates a fold, a corner where this raw edge gets folded down should be along this same line, like so. Now we're going to turn the model over, open this flap all the way to the corner, and flatten it down along existing creases to make a diamond-shaped flap in the back, and turn the model back over. We next want to swivel fold this top flap over along the top point until this raw edge meets this raw edge. The two diagonal creases here should lie on top of one another for a reference, and crease along this side. Next, you want to continue swivel folding along this top point so that the crease you've just made will now lie along the central vertical axis, and this raw edge lies on top of a crease underneath it that we've already made in the paper. And fold down along this edge and this longer edge. Now you're going to open this flap back up and do the same thing on the opposite side. Swivel folding so that the raw edges meet along this edge, and then using this crease you've just made to further swivel fold over to the central vertical crease, using this crease underneath that's in the paper as a guide to lay the raw edge on top of, like so. Once you've completed these steps, push the paper back along that axial crease, push the paper down on this side, creating this flap. Now, as we did in the back, flatten down and press this top into a diamond-shaped flap on the top. Your model should now look like this. You're next going to take the top layer of this flap and fold it up as far as it will go, being careful of the corners, just like that. And now we're going to fold these edges to the axis. Like so. Unfold, reach under this flap, pull up, push the sides in like so, and press down, which will create this new flap. Reach in, spread that flap out, and flatten. The model will now look like this. Now bring these edges to the center, fold them over like this, and like this. Unfold, reach under, and create a valley fold between where this fold meets the folded edge and this. Vertically across, push back, pinch the sides in like this, and create new diagonal folds on the top to bring these two folded edges together. Manipulate the paper so that they lie one beside the other in perfect harmony. Now you want to undo the model enough so that you will be able to push this flap back down. Now redo these folds by pushing in on either side here. Press down, pinch here, and push down. You now have this flap on the top. Reach in, push the sides, flatten that part, and then push down across that existing crease and make a petal fold. Like so. Being careful to align the raw edges so that they meet along the center, and being careful of your corners. Making sure not to rip the paper so that everything is balanced. Next, you will notice that we have this extra bit of paper on the side, and if we turn the model up and open like this, you'll notice that we have some extra paper in between the top and bottom layers. What we need to do is to angle this portion of the paper up and push this paper to the other side so that we create a mirror image of the creases that are on the other side. Continue to push here, making sure that everything remains symmetrical, and press the paper down again. Next, turn the model over. What we need to do is fold this folded edge to the central vertical crease by opening the model apart like that and pushing this paper down on this side to the central axis, and then the remainder of the paper on the other side to the reference point of the axis on this shorter side. Now press the paper down like so. You'll see this is what it should look like now. If we open the model up slightly, you'll be able to reach in, push the sides of that flap apart, and flatten along the creases we've just made. You'll need to reverse fold half of them, but the others are already mountain folds. Take your time here and make sure that all of these creases fold down correctly on the creases we've just made. Now your model should look like this. Turn the model back around, and at this point you should take a small break to have some more tea before we continue. I first folded this model a few weeks ago when Nick put these instructions up on his webpage. I enjoyed very much folding it. It has a very nice folding sequence. The part we're about to do is a little bit tricky, but it's very interesting, and once you get the hang of it, it's very enjoyable to fold. So, the way we begin this next section is to fold this flap along these folded edges here, just to start that crease. Then undo that. Next, we're going to take this portion of the paper and fold it down so that this raw edge meets the central crease, the axis. It's easier if you turn the model this way. Now you're not going to be able to press this down all the way. It's going to create a point here where the model will not lie flat past that point. The model will not fly flat. You just want to begin a crease here, just about in between these 2 points to get it started. And as you notice, this portion of the model remains scooped up. What you want to do next is to take this flap and push it up. Grab onto this and push it up along this line here, so that the point of this flap will touch the point at the top, straight up. This will not fly flat either at the moment. And now inside you will see it's starting to form a crease. You want that crease to touch this crease here along the edge. It's going to create a triangle shape with one right angle in this corner at the top left. And the bottom right corner will touch that angle. Now press this down along this folded edge and then push this back like so. Should have something that looks like this now. Now push this in and bring this raw edge to the axis, pressing this part of the flap down so that this new edge meets the edge underneath it, and they come to a point where this diagonal crease on top of the paper meets this folded edge. Now, that was a little tricky. It was so tricky that there was an earthquake and my camera fell over. But this is what we should have now. This crease comes to a point where this folded edge meets the raw edge here. we have this sunken fold and a flap on the top like that. And all of this edge is against the axis along the middle. And let's try that again on the other side with one variation. I'm going to start by folding this raw edge to the center, as we did before, just along this middle portion to get it started. I'm going to fold this flap out like so. Fold this up, making the raw edge swivel over so that this entire edge now comes along the central axis, and this folded edge meets a diagonal crease that touches this folded edge. Now you're going to fold this folded edge to the central axis. Making sure that this folded edge meets where this crease comes to a corner in this folded edge. Undo that, and now create a sink fold. And that's just another method which may be a little easier. Mountain fold the edges of this V, and valley fold the creases that are exactly inside of it. Now we have the exact same thing on either side, two different methods to achieve the same thing. Use whichever is easier for you. Next, we're going to make the model lie flat by bringing this folded edge to the central crease, the central axis, like so, and repeating that on the other side. And now the model will lie flat, just like this. We're about halfway through folding the model now, so go ahead and take a small break, have some more tea. Remember that it's just origami, and it's supposed to be relaxing and fun. Sometimes I'm nonsensical, and you may think that I'm perhaps poking fun, but I'm just trying to have a bit of fun as we do this origami. I think that's so. What you then want to do is to unfold these flaps, and you're going to turn the model over and fold this down, just the top flap, as far as it will go in between these two corners, making sure that this point is along this central crease. Now, lift here and partially unfold the entire model so that you're able to reverse fold these creases here, as well as this rectangle shape here. turning these inside creases into valley folds. You can collapse the bottle back down like that on one side, and then the other. Open here, reverse fold this crease, and then reverse this rectangular shape here. Valley folding the creases in between those folds and collapsing the model down like this. Now, bring these two edges together, take this flap and push it up, inverting these creases in the center so that they now lie along the central axis, like so. And do the same thing on this side. Pinch together the model in the center, push this up, and fold down. It'll now look like this. Now open the model back up just a little bit more. You'll see that you have a line, a crease that's forming along the edges of these boxes that we need to extend to the edge of the paper. And the best way to do that is just to pinch the paper down and continue that fold. By starting it behind where it hasn't been folded yet and continuing that fold carefully, making sure the paper flattens down nicely in a straight line. And you want to do that on the other side, where this crease is started along the edge of these boxes. You want to continue that until it reaches the edge of the paper, carefully guiding it so that it continues that same line, just like that. Now, you need to fold this crease, diagonal crease as a mountain fold, this crease as a valley fold, and we're going to press the model down, creating a valley fold that's going to run parallel to this crease we just made on both sides. So go ahead and start. Pressing down, turn the model over, and you want to carefully guide the paper so that all of these flaps come together and the creases lie on top of one another at the bottom of this diamond shape, like so, as best as you can. You might need to push the paper a little bit to get it all to line up in the center. Okay. Now you want to position the paper so that the top looks like this, and you're going to lift up a little bit right here and then push this flap of paper along this diagonal crease just like this, and now fold this flap back down and press the model down flat. Will now look like this on one side, and do the same thing on the other side. Lift up underneath these layers and then swivel back from this corner here along this diagonal crease. And once you get the model looking like this, fold this back down and flatten making sure that all your edges line up as best as they can. Like so. Next, we need to turn the model over. We're going to mount and fold this central crease up to the center of where these diagonals cross, and mount and fold this crease and this crease, pinching in here like this. Valley fold along this horizontal crease here, push down carefully. You may need to reach in, opening the model partially in the back to push out the paper so that it folds a mountain fold along an existing diagonal that touches the corner here and here. The model should now look like this. And now you have a diagonal crease running this direction on this flap. Reach behind. And push this flap down, creating some new creases here and here. Like so. And then taking the top of this diamond and pushing that down as far as it will go. This will be the front of your bat. This is the body. And now we're going to work on the claws, which will come out of this paper we have here. Turn the model back around. And you're going to fold this flap of paper so that this point touches this point, and this edge meets this folded edge that's happening right here. Okay? Just like this. You also want to take time to make sure that it's also lying down on top of what's happening behind it here. That those meet up as well. That's going to help ensure that all of your panels are the correct width. And now you're going to fold this panel back so that this raw edge, this folded edge, meets this folded edge. You're just going to fold this in half, just like that. Alright? And you want to repeat on the opposite side. Fold this so that this corner touches this corner. The edge runs along a crease already in the paper, and then look along the edge to make sure that the flap on the other side, that it's lying down on top of that as well. And then fold that edge, bisecting it one more time, just like that. Now unfold these, and we're going to open sync by partially opening the model, like so. Pressing in from behind here to open out these flaps, and then sync folding along the creases we've just made. Like this, and then valley folding the creases just inside of those, using the diagonals that are coming in from the corners. Create a flap that looks like this now. And do the same thing on the opposite side. Partially open the model out so that you can push this crease to a mountain fold along the larger outer rectangle, and then valley fold the edges of the smaller inner triangle rectangle using diagonals to sink to look like that. All right. Next, turn the model over. What you want to do is to fold this edge to the folded edge underneath the paper. In other words, or to give you a visual representation, we're going to bisect this flap so that it matches what's happening underneath it, like so. But we need to fold this flap down first, and we're going to reach into this pocket and lift it up slightly so that we'll be able to just fold over this portion of the paper here. And this crease will now be along some creases, some folded edges behind it, just like this. Fold down firmly, and now open the model here, and with this edge folded down, you're going to sink by starting 2 mountain folds on either side, a valley fold in the center, and sink this triangular point at the top down like so. We'll now have something that looks like this, a sunken point at the top there. And you want to repeat that on the opposite side. Lift up only the top flap, push this bit of paper back, create a flap that matches what's happening under it, like so. Open the model partially so that you can reach in, reverse this fold into a mountain fold, valley fold in the middle, and then press down, sinking that corner. Like so. Okay, just like this. Next, we're going to work on the claws. We do that by folding this edge to the edges underneath it. So a diagonal make a small triangle just like that. You're going to do that to all the other tips of these folded edges, these pleats. Like so. Now, reverse fold these being careful so that they all lie symmetrically on top of one another. Now we have flaps that look like this. You're going to bring these new folded edges to that edge created by folded edges underneath, like so. One at a time, moving back the layers and doing the next pleat under it. You want to fold down fairly firmly once you have them in place, because now we have several layers of paper and we'll be using the folds created from this to again thin down these claws. So now mountain fold the more steep angle, valley fold the original triangle shape, leave you something like this, and now fold that portion down to further thin down and make the claws of the bat dragon. Repeating the same steps on all of the claws here. Just like this. You're going to repeat these steps on the opposite side, but I'll leave that to you. Next, you're going to fold this flap back as far as it will go so that you create a crease that runs parallel to this raw edge. Start at this end, fold this up as far as it will go, and then using this as a reference, fold these raw edges on top of one another to make sure that this folded edge is parallel to the crease you're making. Crease firmly through the paper. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Now turn the paper over. What you're going to do is open the claw part enough so that you can push this down, reverse folding the crease you just made, and then swiveling that section of the claw back, just like that. Continue on along that portion of the paper, and then fold this down as well. You'll now have this tiny flap at the end here, and of course you will have created your toe flaps on that side as well. Claws rather. Now you want to open this flap and press down, creating a diamond. Bring these raw edges to the central crease, preparing for a petal fold of this tiny tail piece here. Fold this back, the top layer back, in between where those creases meet the edge, pinching in the sides, and petal folding that tail like so. Alright, turn the model back around like so. And what you're going to do next is to fold this tiny tip up like that. And you can further extend this tail portion by making a crease that runs very shallowly from where the tip of that tail part is to the corner of where this folded edge meets the claw. So push this paper back, making a very thin triangle. And crease firmly. Now press that down, open up the model, and sink that layers in like so. Being really careful at the thinner end. It gets really thin, like so, and press down here at the end. And if you do that on both sides, it helps to fold down on a flat surface. Get that very long triangle folded correctly. Unfold, reach underneath the flap to open that and reverse fold along that crease. To sink the edge inside the model. Like so. And now what we'll have is this tiny bit of extra paper to one side, similar to what we had up at the neck that we spread sunk. The way you take care of this one is to pinch the bottom, open here, and you should be able to spread apart that tip to either side like so. Extending that tail portion down like this. You have your claws. The next thing we need to do is to thin down this section of the wing, turn the model over, fold up as far as it will go here to the very corner, making another very thin triangle. Just like that. So that these claws now stick out beyond the edge of the model. Now for the head, what you want to do is to fold this flap down, and now fold these back flaps up, just like this, on either side. Fold them up. It might be easier to lay the model down like this and then fold them up. And then take from this corner here to where these two diagonal creases meet and make a diagonal through those layers of paper on either side. It doesn't have to be extremely sharp crease, and you can angle this in other ways depending on how you want the head to be angled. If you want it more down, you make a shallower crease. If you want it to be pointed more up, you make a more pointed crease. But right about here is somewhere in the middle, which is a nice, comfortable position for the head to be resting in. And as you'll see here, the details of the head, we have these horns, the ears, 4 horns. And we have the top part of the mouth and the bottom. We want to take both flaps push back just a little, pull this top part up, and shape the mouth how you want it to be. If you want it to be sort of screeching, kind of pinch here to keep a curve in the mouth. But what you want to do is to fold this tip to about halfway back down this triangle flap on the top, and then make another crease back very shortly behind that and point this top part up just a little bit. It's tricky to do, but it gives it more of a bat-like face with the nose there. Just like this, okay? And then what you want to do is to push behind these horns and make a bisection so that you can roll them in a rounded shape like this, and then shape the horns how you'd like. I usually start by pushing them out to the side and then curling them back to the middle so that they have a curved sort of look to them, like so. Do the same thing on the other horn. And then shape the rest of the model as desired. Pull the wings in a bit like this. And what I like to do with these claws is to kind of push this material forward like so, and then carefully round off the talons, the claws, so that they look like they could reach out and grab a hold of something. Make it look more menacing, like that. And what's nice, if you turn the model over, take these layers and sort of push back just in the middle. It keeps everything sort of together here along the leg section, and it adds some dimension to the body, pushes this wing part in a bit and the body part out. So there you have it. This is the finished Bat Dragon model by Nick Proulx. I'm sure I'll leave some comments in the comment section below. If you have any questions for him, please feel free.